When they announced Armor King for Tekken 8, I was not really hyped about it because in Tekken 7, I didn't like him much. It felt as if his game plan was overlapping with Kazumi and Heihachi's, so I would rather play a character that felt very unique rather than Armor King, despite him looking very cool, and it's super fun to watch when someone that is a character specialist is playing him. But in Tekken 8, I feel the complete opposite, and it's probably because, you know, the drill. The Tekken 8 game plan is very similar with stance rush down, crazy buttons that create that looping pressure over and over again. It's so annoying. So he feels as if I was playing Tekken 7 again with him. But not exactly. It's not like he doesn't have Tekken 8 stuff, but if you try to play a little bit more like Tekken 7, it feels effective with him at the moment. But also very difficult, and that's why I'm struggling with him. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that despite not liking him in Tekken 7, now I feel like I want to make him my secondary in this game. So let me discuss what I think changed about him that made him a lot more fun, other than not feeling as Tekken 8 as the other characters. The first thing is the mid-range, because in Tekken 7, it felt as if you were just spamming these buttons here in the mid-range, hoping that they will hit. And if they got blocked, you'll just reset back to that neutral mid-range situation again. It was pretty annoying facing Armor King, and also not very fun to create that situation when you're playing as Armor King. So I never liked that, even though mid-range is something that I really enjoy in any fighting game. I like playing from this range, like the footsies, the spacing traps around it, but it did not feel satisfying in Tekken 7. But in this game, it changed because of the addition of 442, because this is a counter hit launcher. And because of that, you have to think a little bit more about your timing, because if you just throw it out hoping that it will hit, it's fine, it deals like decent amount of damage, but it's not exactly very exciting, right? So you really want to think about timing, so you land this on counter and you get a full combo and all of that stuff. On top of that, now this button feels as if it has more purpose, because just like 444, you create that much spacing. Now, it only happens if you throw it out from very tip range, and you can use this button as a way to get in. So if you're from this distance here, you just do it. +5, somewhat close to the opponents. You cannot just spam any button here because he's quite linear, but it pushes the opponent towards the wall and it gets in a lot more than you would with 444 or 442 as well. So you can still create that scenario, frame trapping, not frame trapping, spacing trapping with 442, 444 and whatnot. But if you want to get in, you can use this button here. And because his buttons from mid-range are a little bit more sidesteppable, you have more purpose to use this. Because in Tekken 7, you just throw it out to go into the stance if you wanted to. And it was already pretty difficult to step these buttons, so it's not like you needed to use 443 to catch people sidewalking or sidestepping from that distance, right? So now it feels like this has more purpose as well. Mid-range, soft, it feels a lot more satisfying. It feels like you have to think about when to use the buttons and when you want to use each one of them a lot more. Nice. However, the close range, I think it's more fun as well, because he got a lot of more buttons, a lot of things that creates different situations. However, I'm struggling to find a way to make the opponents kind of respect and just stay still, because they are going to be stepping a lot. It doesn't matter how plus you are. If you are not checking them with jabs and down forward one, it's so risky. For example, let me just pretend that I punished Kazuya with 2-1 and he's gonna sidestep right. If I try to check them with back 4, which is pretty satisfying. I just like this button because visually it feels so punishing for catching them ducking, right? It doesn't do a lot of damage, but it feels very nice to use. And it should be a frame trap here because I'm +7, right? But it doesn't matter because this button is very linear. And a lot of the things you might try to do here, if they're too slow, they will also not track, and there are big whiffs. You have to be very careful about what you use, which limits your options to just very quick pokes, even though you're +7. So 2-1 into back 4, you have to do 2-1 into 1-2, or 2-1 into 2-1, 2-1 into down forward 1. It's so annoying. It doesn't feel satisfying having to constantly frame trap people with the options that are not very threatening. So annoying. You try to do grab as giant swing, let's say, as well. Can be very difficult because they might step if you don't like fully buffer and if you don't have heat to make it track, to make it homing. So you have to be constantly realigning, which puts you at a certain risk, right? If they mash and you're trying to realign with a quick dash, you might eat a launcher depending on what they do. So it's just a matter of, it's not that I am against this type of play style. I find it fine and I want to adapt to it. But when the other characters don't have to worry about that as well, it feels bad. It feels bad. So I wish more characters were like Armor King rather than Armor King being like the other ones that can frame trap with whatever bullshit they have. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, I'm struggling a little bit to play the close range. That's why I often default from playing, well, I default to playing from this range. That's what I'm trying to say. But yeah, let me just end this video by talking about the buttons that I find the most fun to use. Number one, down 4-3, just because it reminds me of Heihachi's 4-3, the Tekken 7 4-3, and also Brian's, right? It looks very similar to Brian's down 4-3. It's not as good on block because it's -5, but still, I just love spamming this button, and when he lands on a counter, super sweet. Sidestep 4 as well, another counter hit launcher. It just feels satisfying to use on block. It feels very powerful. And even on normal hits, it doesn't deal that much damage, but it's satisfying. I like the visual effects, the knockdown, all of that stuff. And next, I have 4-3. This one, which you could use as a punish, 13 frames. But I've been landing so much counter hits with this button here. It is a full combo if you land counter on the first hit like that. Alright? So I like that a lot. And you have some shenanigans you can do with it. If you think that it's not going to land on a counter or normal hits, whatever, you can just cancel the second hit. And if the opponent knows that they can duck it, they can duck the second hit and punish you. And you do this, it becomes very hard for them to recognize whether or not you did the button, which would force them to just wait and punish you with something not as heavy. Maybe it wasn't for something like that. Because if they just throw out the button thinking that they ducked the second hit, then you have a chance to punish them back. So I've been very successful creating these situations with this button. Not only landing this on counter, but also baiting people into trying to punish the second hit. It is a very fun button. I like it. And at last, what else do I like? I like having it down 4-4. It's not the highlights of his move list, but this button feels satisfying to use. Oh, and back 4, of course. I already talked about this one. It just feels so nice landing this on people. So yeah, I like these buttons a lot. And mid-range 4-4-2, of course. But I need to be using this a lot more with wave dash and whatnot just to change my timing and also realign. Because I don't use it that much. Just because I got stepped so much trying to use it that now I'm scared. But yeah, super fun character, and I will likely make him my secondary in this game if no one else that is fun shows up in Tekken 8. Probably I will just stick to 2 characters, but still give Heihachi most of my attention because that character is so cool. And I'm still struggling to optimize some of the situations that he has. For example, 4-4 on crouching opponents. I still do down forward 1-2 because of Tekken 7 muscle memory. But wait a second, this is not even a video about Heihachi, so I'm gonna stop here. That's it, and see you guys next time.